And everybody's joined this program because they've all got a business and they want to learn how to not just build a business, but how to take that money and take that business and create wealth. So I'd really like to start exploring that. But if I can come back to the beginning of, you founded Checkatrade, you sold Checkatrade for nearly 80 million, huge sum. And do you want to tell us how that business idea came to fruition and why you chose to go with the recurring revenue model rather than a one-off payment, if that's how it started, or you evolved the business model to that point?
Yeah. Sometimes you just fall into something, don't you? And it's not by plan. And certainly when a tornado went through my hometown, which is Selsey in West Sussex, that tornado caused £10 million worth of damage. And there was tradesmen flooding from all over the UK in white vans, and people that were victims of the weather were now being victims of rogue trades. My dad was a policeman in the RAF for many years, and then when he retired from that, he was a trading standards officer, so I grew up with that kind of feel anyway. But I saw so many local people being ripped off, and I thought, well, surely someone could do something. Did I have a millionaire mindset at that point? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was bouncing along the bottom of life. If you were to take my business card out and read it, it would have said, Kev, pretty much is hopeless at everything that he does. Works hard, got good intentions, but really, really did not have any business acumen or ambition at all, apart from if I could take my family on holiday once a year, wouldn't that be amazing? That was where I was. We all start from different places in life, don't we? But certainly for me, I started right at the bottom. I started Checkatrade with zero money, with zero business skills, zero acumen, nothing, and no one ever gave me a penny. So we all start from different places. That's where I started. So wherever you are, I'm sure most of you are a lot further along that journey than where I was. But I bounced along the bottom of life for a long time with Checkatrade. In fact, Checkatrade didn't start as Checkatrade. It started as the Phone Box. That was the first name. That never actually happened. Then I changed it to Scout, and then the Scout Association got barristers onto me saying you're using our brand. Oh, I'm not using your brand. Anyway, I changed it to Scout It Out, and they still had barristers on me. So I changed it to the Trade Register. So how many names is that in the space of the first sort of 2 years? It's incredible. And then I got a knock on the door from Trading Standards saying, you can't use the word register unless you're Home Office approved. Oh, great. And at that point, I came up with the idea of doing online reviews. And if you've got an idea like that, where do you go? Well, you go to Google or whatever to see what else is out there to copy it, don't you? And there wasn't anything. So if I have a claim to fame, and I'll stop saying it if anyone proves me wrong, I was the first in the world to do online reviews. And we got the Queen's Award for that, which was fantastic. But even at that point, I'm still bouncing along the bottom of life. I'm not really achieving anything. I know I've got a good idea. I know that I've got a little bit more ambition than what I had before, but I had no idea on how to take this idea that I've got and expand it. No idea whatsoever. And from that day to this day, no one's ever told me how to do it. It's like you just learn as you go along. But there was a really, really big turning point in my life. Checkatrade at that point, the first 4 years was lots of different names. Checkatrade had probably been going about 7 years. And I was employing probably 3 or 4 people, that's all. And I'm still bouncing along the bottom of life. A friend of mine, his name's Kev as well, but he's about 5'2", one of my best mates. And he came up to me and he said, Kev, can I speak into your life? I thought, oh no, here we go. And I said, yeah, speak into my life, Kev, fire away. He says, Kev, you're miserable. Your wife's miserable. Your kids are miserable. You need to give up this flogging a dead horse and get a proper job. And that was a real kick up my backside. And that made me think really, really deeply about what I was doing, because he was right. He was right. It wasn't going anywhere. But I knew there was something there. I knew in my heart that if you want to be successful, solve a problem. That's the key. And the bigger the problem you solve, the more success you'll have around your life, financial success at least. And I knew there was a huge problem, and I knew I had an answer to it, and yet there was something stopping me. Anyway, coinciding with that kick up the backside, a good friend of mine gave me a set of CDs, and they were by a guy called Bob Harrison, an American guy, called Dr. Increase is his name. And it was called a very typical American name to a series of CDs. It was called Awakening the Great Multitude Mind. You know, typical American, isn't it? Anyway, I whacked these CDs in, and it changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. For the first time, I'd heard that you'll never achieve anything that in your subconscious you don't really believe you're going to achieve. Oh, that's interesting. Do I have a subconscious? Absolutely. The vast majority of all of our decisions are made by our subconscious. I'll give you an illustration. If you've got a headache, what do? You take a paracetamol. Don't even think about it, do you? Anyway, I started to learn that I had a subconscious, and I started to learn that the vast majority of all of my decisions were being made from my subconscious, which had been programmed and dictated to me via my upbringing. And most of them are the same. Most of us have a similar upbringing to a degree. We're all told you'll never achieve it. You're not as pretty as your sister. You know, who are you to think you could do this? And my dad was a very, very proud guy, and I can remember once with my elder brother. My elder brother wanted to do a bay-to-bay swim, and I can remember my dad saying to him, "Son, don't do this. If you fail, what's that going to make you feel like?" I did think, wow, yeah, we're all programmed, aren't we? We're all programmed in our upbringings, in our brothers and sisters and our peers and the people that are around us to say, you can only jump so high. And that's where I was, for sure. And I started to understand that the limits of how high I can jump was purely in here, purely in my brain. There was nothing else stopping me. And one of the great things about being an entrepreneur, and this app absolutely fits me fantastically, is that you don't need any qualifications. You don't need any education. If you're an entrepreneur, no one says to you, "Let me see your qualifications," which is great, because I've got nothing. It took me 6 months to start to reprogram my brain, just to start. And so how did you reprogram your brain, and how did that work? Well, I learned that you move towards the most dominant image you allow to reside in front of you. You move towards the most dominant image you allow to reside in front of you. I'll give you an illustration. You know, I've got a Christian background, and many years ago we were in Serbia. Not Serbia, Crimea. Can't go there now, of course. And we were visiting various churches and stuff. And we came across this young lad, probably in his late teens, early 20s, quite short, really stocky, really strong. And we went into his apartment, which probably was about almost as big as this stage, that's all, his apartment. And on every wall, he had pictures of powerlifters. And I'm saying, well, pictures of powerlifters on here. And he says, that's I will be a world champion one day. And he had them on the ceiling. He had them inside his cupboards. He had them everywhere around. And I said, okay. We learned 2 years later, he got some world records. He moved towards the dominant image that he allowed to reside. He woke up in the morning and he'd go, I'm going to be a world champion like this guy. And it starts to reprogram your brain. And what I learned through these CDs was lots of things, but I'll try and bring some key stuff out. The first thing that I can remember reading or listening to was Bob Harrison said, only 1 or 2 in 100 will do what I suggest, but those 1 or 2 will create more wealth than all the other 98 and 99 put together. And I thought, that's interesting. I wouldn't mind earning 100 times what a normal person earns. That sounds pretty cool. I'm going to do this. So he says, right, what you got to start doing is get images. So I thought, well, okay, how do I get, what kind of image do I need? Well, I've got to take Checkatrade National. And he said, but you won't believe it at first. Okay, I won't believe it at first, but over a period of time, I'll start to believe it. Okay, yeah, I've got that now. So I went out and I got some A1 maps of the UK, and I put them on that wall at the shed in the bottom of my garden, and that wall in the shed at the bottom of my garden, because that's where I was, and on that wall, And I'd go into my shed each morning, and I'd go, I'm going to be national. I'm going to be national. I didn't believe it for a minute. But hey, he told me I wouldn't believe it. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to be national. Write stuff down, Kev. What is it you think that you can't achieve? Well, I'll never achieve £1 million turnover a year. That just won't happen. All right, I'll start writing it down. £1 million turnover, £1 million turnover, £1 million turnover. And just didn't believe it, but kept persevering. And I'm keeping listening to motivational tapes. I'm really listening now intently on how can I change my mindset. And there's 2 ways you can change your mindset. The first one is through an emotional implantation. Very, very quick example. You've led a healthy life all your life. Now you're diagnosed with cancer. That's an emotional implantation. You will change your lifestyle instantly. That doesn't tend to happen in business, those types of events. So the only way that you can change the way you think is by repetition. Repetition. What are you allowing yourself to see? What are you allowing yourself to hear? Who are you associating yourselves with? And that was a tough one, that was. We all know the phrase, birds of a feather flock together, don't we? But do we know the second part of that? The second part is, and they all fly to the same destination. And so you've got to think, well, okay, who am I associating myself with? Who am I flying with? Because whoever I am flying with, that's where I'm going. And I had to come to the conclusion that, man, I didn't ditch any of my friends. I've still got all my old friends. But I've got to start making some new associations. I've got to start rubbing shoulders with people that are going places. I've got to. How can I do that? And that's quite difficult. So I started to join networking groups and trying to find who are the most successful people in these networking groups. Who are the ones that have got the biggest businesses, and how can I rub alongside these people? Can we go and have dinner, mate? And then try and rub alongside. There's another phrase out there: iron sharpens iron. I don't know whether you've heard that one. Wood does not sharpen iron. Iron sharpens iron. So who are you rubbing alongside? Who are you associating yourselves with? Who are you trying to glean stuff from? The fact that you're here means you are so much further along the journey than I was when I first went into business, or even after 10 years. You're already associating yourself with people that are successful. You're already associating yourself and rubbing alongside people that are going to influence you in a really, really positive way. So my journey was, I'm saying, I'm going to be national. Not believing it at all, but over a small period of time, a month or so, and constantly immersing myself in really, really positive tapes and videos, and try and just, if there was something I thought, no, I'm not going to entertain that because it's not positive. It's like a buffet of food. You can choose what you want to listen to and what you want to see. And I was really, really focused. My children grew up with this. And they could recite the tapes word for word after about 6 months of all the videotapes I was putting on. And I think one of the mistakes some people make is they'll just go from book to book to book to book. Oh, that was a good book. Where's the next one? I've never done that. If I got hold of a piece of literature that I read or listened to, it was like, wow, that was fantastic. I'll listen to it again. Wow, I picked up some more out. Wow, I'll listen to it again. Wow, I'll listen to it again. I've listened to the same CDs a dozen, 24 times. And just each time, just glean a little bit more and glean a little bit more. Over a period of time, you start to think, well, hold on, if I'm going to be national, hold on, I never thought that before. Well, if I'm going to be national, what do I need to do? I need to be on the radio. And then automatically your actions and your behaviours start to change. But I'm the same person that I was 6 months ago, but now I'm thinking that I've got to be on the radio. Where's that come from? It's from that repetition of setting yourself a sight which is not achievable, but it is achievable, and you slowly but surely change your mindset.